Why are all these coaches and players suddenly leaving Arkansas? Well, Blake, good question. Let's talk about it. We need to get into the weeds, though. That's what we do. We pride ourselves on being in the weeds on this show, because if you fly over at 50,000 feet, it looks like it's really bad in Fayetteville right now. I'm not going to run interference. You know I have an affinity for this program. Although I grew up in rural Georgia, I have an affinity for the Arkansas Razorbacks. So there is a little homerism in me. I don't claim to be a journalist here. I can show favoritism. When you have internal issues, and let me stop, because some of you may not be picking up what I'm putting down here. Arkansas had not the best of years on the field this year. And some of it was due to injury, some of it was due to lack of execution, and I think some of it was due to some internal strife, especially that popped up in the second half of the year. A lot of that is their business, and it's not my place to air it out. I think some of the contributors to that strife are no longer there, in some cases in roster form, and in some cases via employment being terminated. But be that as it may, 7-6 is what people see. And then they see a lot of coaches moving on, and they see a lot of kids hitting the portal. I mean, a ton of kids hitting the portal. Yeah, that looks terrible. How terrible is it? I don't think it's nearly as terrible as it seems. Let's walk through this for just a second. Who did they lose? They lost Barry Odom, a friend of the program. What did he do? He took a head coaching job at UNLV. So I would argue that's a step up. I'm going to get to Kendall Briles in just a second. But elsewhere, Dowell Logans went from your tight ends coach to being an offensive coordinator at South Carolina. That's a step up. That's advancement career-wise. Michael Shearer is the defensive coordinator at UNLV. He was a position coach for you. That would be viewed by many people as advancement. The one that's confused even me is Kendall Briles. I've heard some speculation about why he may have moved on. Maybe he overplayed his hand. Maybe it was a mutual parting of ways. Whatever it is, you go from being the OC at Arkansas to being the OC at TCU. Folks are going to call it a lateral move at best, and I don't disagree with them. But that in and of itself is not a cause to sound the panic alarm. But if you couple it with a whole bunch of players leaving via the portal, then there are some holdouts over here on this side of the room who say, all right, well, now that you tell me that part, yeah, I think it's time to panic. All right, well, let's continue to dive into these weeds here. What about the portal? They, I think, have lost 28 kids, 27 to 28 kids to the portal, but they've got the number 14 portal class in the country, too. So it's not been a one-way street. That revolving door, the thing about it is when someone goes out, someone else can come in, and they have not matched it number for number, departure to arrival. I would also remind you, the portal season's not over. They can still add kids in the portal now. There's going to be a fresh wave after spring practice. So I think Arkansas will take some numbers. They already have. They're top 15. But post-spring notwithstanding, I am kind of interested in a couple of things. The first is they got a player named Isaac Tesla. And you don't know anything about him. Don't pretend you do, because we didn't until like 2 days ago. Producer Jesse and I sat in an office. I promise you this happened today. We sat in an office and we watched highlight film of Isaac Tesla from Hillsdale College, that's a D2, up in Michigan. And 68 receptions, over 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns get your attention on paper. But 6'4", 210 gets my attention on film as well, and really doesn't trade a lot of the speed and athleticism in exchange for that size. I don't know how it happens. I don't know how kids like that just pop up at Hillsdale, but he did, and he had a lot of Power 5 offers, and Sam Pittman in Arkansas picked him up. And I am very, very interested if that may not be one of the big off-the-radar names that we end up coming out of spring ball and saying, watch out for that one. What? You ever heard of Hillsdale? Well, there's a kid out of there. He's in Fayetteville now. Watch him. I'm just trying to make you sound like the smartest guy at the water cooler in and around the greater Fayetteville area before spring practice. So let's keep an eye on him. The other thing is KJ Jefferson was an integral part of the 2023 plan. Him being healthy is the other part, but an integral part. They kept him there. They did what they had to do to keep him at Arkansas. And that's another huge win. Now, here's the interesting name that entered the equation for those of us in the public yesterday. But I think he was already in the mix long before yesterday for Sam Pittman. Kendall Briles was gone like 30 seconds officially before they hired a new offensive coordinator. And it's Dan Enos from Maryland. Familiarity with the Arkansas faithful from his time under Brett Bielema. And Dan Enos has been in the SEC before. He was at Alabama. He's been at Arkansas. Well, now he's back in the SEC. And there, you know that gif out there where the lady's excited, and then she's puzzled, and then she's hopeful, and then she's confused, and then she's jubilant again. That was the Arkansas fan base yesterday. Are we excited about Enos because he was kind of good when he was here the first time, but then there's some confusion, and then, I don't know, man, we could have done better. Is he as good as Briles? Maybe he's better than Briles. That was the Arkansas fan base yesterday, and I understand it. I get it. You know why I get it? I feel the same way you do. I don't know how it's going to work out. But I do know, and this is probably should have been the point I made 5 minutes ago, they had some internal issues up there this past year. And anyone close to the program knows that. That's not breaking news to our Arkansas fans. That's not breaking news to Sam Pittman or anyone in the program. But I'm trying to tell you on the outside, when you have internal issues, when things aren't going the way you want them to, the last thing in the world you should do is just stand pat. The last thing you should do is maintain normalcy, because that's going to get you more of what you've already gotten. So if you had internal issues this year, you didn't like the chemistry, the dynamic, you had to have a lot of churn. A lot of players should be hitting the portal. A lot of coaches should be moving on. You need fresh blood. You need it. Now, there's no guarantee that it all works out. That's where you hope your leadership, your AD, your head coach, and the like, you hope they have enough of a forward-thinking, positive vision for where they're taking the program that they go find the pieces to put on the bus that are all interested in going the same direction, using the same methodology. Yeah, we can hope that. We don't know that. But truthfully, if I heard the things I had heard, and there were the rumors that we've heard out of what it was like internally at Arkansas this past year, I'd be concerned if there weren't a ton of coaches and players on the way out the door. I think that makes sense. I don't think that's the craziest thing in the world. I just think you have to grab the situation and open it up a little bit, because otherwise, you could be led to believe coaches are leaving, players are leaving. That means something's wrong. Maybe coaches and players are leaving because something was wrong, and maybe in some cases, I don't know, they contributed. Maybe, just maybe. Now, that's not to say everyone who's left Arkansas was a problem player or a problem coach. I am speaking very, very much in an overarching manner. It's not a death knell to the Arkansas program because some people left. Because we got to find out whether the people who came in are as good or better and can seamlessly, mesh with what they're trying to do. I did my best. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.